Hello and welcome to Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Athena Sorensen. We are talking to Carolina Jesus from Shelter of Wisdom. This is a beautiful ministry that helps the homeless.
There's so much talk these days about trying to house the homeless.
This is our storage room.
But it's old hat for 56-year-old Carolina Jesus.
Yeah, my last name is Jesus.
Yup, that's how she pronounces it, and she's been doing her own version of Housing First for more than a decade. In the midst of a divorce and tumultuous time in her life, she says her faith led her to the homeless.
Thank you so much for being here today.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I want to start off with quoting this scripture that I found on your website, and I think it is so appropriate to say this out loud because it basically describes your ministry. And it says, I want you to share your food with the hungry and to bring the homeless, poor into your homes. Give clothes to those who need them and do not hide from relatives who need your help. Feed the hungry and help those in trouble. Now you have this on your website, so this is the heart of your ministry, right?
Yeah, we're simply obeying Jesus 24/7 to the best of our ability.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Now the homeless rate here in Hawaii, it's staggering. What have you seen firsthand?
Well, the way this whole started is because firsthand I just saw people suffering and Jesus was talking to me. He was telling me, do something,
Yes.
feed that person, bring that person home. He pretty much told me, bring that person home. So I did. I was a single mom, and I started bringing home women, and I started bringing home elderly men that I found sleeping in the rain underneath of cardboard.
Hi, my name is Carolina Jesus, and I started an organization called Shelter of Wisdom, which is a very simple thing. We're a homeless shelter. We're based in Honolulu, Hawaii, and you might have heard that Honolulu has the highest rate of homelessness in the nation. Much of that is because if you're homeless in Hawaii, at least you won't freeze to death at night, which is a reality in most of the other states. So about, I guess, 2003, I found out that Jesus Christ was real. I had been an anti-Jesus person before that, but I had my own experience with him, and I found out that he's definitely real. And he started talking to me, and I could hear him telling me what to do. And he wanted to go get these homeless people, especially the ones that had very severe mental illness, the ones that were eating out of the garbage, the ones that you couldn't really talk to them because they were incoherent. Their clothing was filled with doo-doo and shishi, and they were very unhealthy. They had medical issues, so he was really concerned about them. So he started sending me to go get them, and he wanted me to bring them home. So that was a big stretch for me, but I did. I brought home women, and I brought home very old men, and then I helped them whatever they needed, just doing whatever they needed. So, and then that became bigger and bigger so that it didn't really work anymore in my home. And then we formed a 501c3, a nonprofit, and then we started renting houses in the neighborhood. So at this point in time, we have 6 houses, and we have 63 men in 6 houses.
Jesus trained me. He trained me the whole, how to do everything, how to get them into care homes, how to get them mental health services, how to get them into detox, how to get them into residential treatment, how to get them linked up with behavioral health, the full gamut of services, how to replace immigration documents,
Oh my.
how to fix up people's child support problems, how to go to court, how to deal with, the judiciary system, the Hawaii State Hospital, the police.
Wow.
It's just on-the-job training,
Yes.
following Jesus around and not knowing at all what I'm doing, and just, I had so many incredible experiences because I do not know what I'm doing still to this very day. And I just listen to him, and then he knows exactly what he's doing. And sometimes it's very surprising because I think that, okay, we're going to go do this particular thing, we're going to get this guy and he's going to be, this is what's going to happen. But it turns out to be something completely different.
Wow.
And stunning and thrilling, and it's hard, but I would never want to do anything different because it's so wonderful and exciting following Jesus and watching the amazing things that he does, miracle after miracle, sometimes multiple miracles every day. I think anybody in ministry would say that,
Yes.
but our ministry is like really hands-on, and you really experience it. You know, you're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, so at 3, I was homeless with my parents, my stepdad, and my mom. My mom was a stripper, and my real dad's in the cartel in Mexico. And so I had a very poverty life growing up here in Hawaii. And I didn't make very educated decisions because I didn't have an education. I dropped out in 10th grade, and I decided to experiment with drugs and sell drugs and get arrested. And I found Jesus, and Jesus led me to Shelter of Wisdom. Since I met Caroline Jesus, she changed my life, and she's helped me follow Jesus and understand him much more than I could ever have. And I thank her for that. Yeah.
Now, you said you were bringing people into your home. Someone might go, wow,
Oh, I was the first someone that
brave to
went
do
that. I was like, what? And then I remember because I was getting the part of my home that I had been renting, I was getting ready to prepare it for the next person because the tenants I had went, they moved away. And then I remember I was cleaning the windows, and I was thinking about this, like, I'm gonna bring homeless people into my home, and I'm a single mom, and my son is only in, like, you know, intermediate school, and oh, that's scary.
Yes.
And then I heard in my ear, I heard the Lord tell me, do you want my joy? And I think it's so cute that this program's name, yeah.
Yes.
And you know, that was the thing that, because I wasn't born again until I was 40-something years old, and that was the thing that I had discovered was joy.
Yes.
And I just wanted that. So I just said, yes, Lord, I'll do whatever you want, because I do want your joy.
Right.
And I do have his joy.
Amen.
And he named all of our houses some kind of joy name, like there's hearts of joy, streams of joy, great joy. And then we have a new house. That one is, now I just forgot what it is, but it's another joy. Yeah,
So you have more
everlasting
than
joy.
one- Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So you start out with your own home.
I just
You
brought
started
people
bringing people in. Now, how did you acquire other homes? You have, how many do you
We
have,
just
4 or
rent
5?
them. We rent them.
Okay.
Yeah, we have one landlord who's rented 4 homes to us.
So it's someone else who owns the house,
Yes.
and they say, yes, you can rent these to let
Yeah.
homeless people live in them.
Yeah, that landlord, they're wonderful people, and they have many homes, and they were actually looking to serve the community. So they thought they would take a risk and give us a try, and then they liked us, and then every time they had another house come vacant, they asked us if we could rent it.
Okay.
And they've been so gracious with us, you know, as far as you know, they're not renting to make money, they're renting for what they need to, yeah. And I think that's a message I would like to convey to the public. Like, if you do have homes, or if you do have rentals, or even if you have like a studio over your garage or something like that, and you're renting it, you know, really do some budgeting and see, do you really need to rent it for market rent? Because a lot of people can just rent it for what they need.
Yes.
And that would really serve the community.
Would help,
Yeah,
yes.
because many people, they can afford rent, but they can't afford the market rent.
Yes.
And the property
It's
taxes
expensive.
keep going up, and that's driving up the rents.
Yes. So how do you find people? Because, you know, you have these homes now. Do you actually go out into the street and look, or is it just word of mouth?
Yeah, there's word of mouth, and
Okay.
then there's the mental health case management agencies. There's the residential treatment programs, the licensed residential crisis shelter. You know, the people that provide mental health services and provide substance abuse services, they refer people to us.
Okay.
Quite a few private psychiatrists, psychologists refer people to us. And then a lot of word of mouth. And people that are in clean and sober houses that are kind of ready to graduate out and become more independent, because we don't have any staff. We don't have any funding.
Oh, okay.
We're volunteers. So when the people come to us, they need to be independent. They need to be able to, you know, take their own medication and do their chore and keep their appointments and get along with each other.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you know, don't relapse. But you know, all of that happens. You know, sometimes.
Hi, my name's David Jenkins. I grew up with spina bifida. I also grew up in a very abusive household. I was abused in just about every way, shape, and form you can think of. By the time I was in my early 20s, I was tired of the abuse, and I lost my job at the time because of allergic reactions and couldn't find more work. So I ended up homeless on the streets. I was homeless for a majority of 17 years. And then about 2 years ago, I met the director for Shelter of Wisdom. About 10 days ago, I was in the Social Security office renewing my Social Security, and there was the director, and she picked me up that evening and brought me to Shelter of Wisdom, and I've had a place to live ever since then, and it's helped me relax and calm down.
So what is the process? Do they have to actually go through a process to be able to move in?
No, not really. They
shelters?
just have to contact me.
Okay.
And then we're still small enough. We have 65 men. We're a men's only shelter. We started off with women, but then in 2008 it went rapidly into all men.
Okay.
And so they just have to call me, and then I will give them a tour, because there's 3 different properties and there's 7 different houses, and they're not all the same. So some people have a walker or a wheelchair, or some people smoke cigarettes, and they can't all accommodate those things. Some people work at night and they can't. They need to be closer to the all-night bus. Yeah, because
Okay.
we're in Kalihi Valley, and we're on a shuttle bus line that connects with all the major bus lines.
Oh.
Yeah, but some of the men, they work restaurant or they work security, and they come home late and they miss the shuttle bus. So I make sure that they see the properties, and during the tour I get to find out, you know, what is their situation like.
Yes.
And you know, during the tour we kind of determine, they'll just say straight up, oh, I can't live at that house.
Yeah.
It's too whatever, you know, like, and you'd be surprised, like, it's so funny because some people, they can't stand this house and they love that one, and just the vice versa, you know.
So does everyone who comes to you already have a job, or are people coming to you
No.
homeless?
Yeah.
And then once they get that housing, then they're able to find a job?
It's all of the above. A lot of people come to us and they have general assistance, which is money on the EBT card, or they have Social Security benefits, disability benefits, or retirement benefits. Some of them have VA benefits because of disability, and then some of them are working, or they're trying to work.
trying.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of stumbling in the process for those people and they're stumbling in the process for the people with general assistance, because in order to continue receiving their money, they have to be in compliance with the terms of
Okay.
the treatment. So if they mess that up, which is actually really easy to do, I mean, not on purpose, but it's a little bit, yeah, you have to really pay attention to the dates and the papers and the deadlines, and you have to make sure that you're doing it correctly.
That's hard to do if you're homeless. I
It's
can
hard
imagine.
to do, yeah, and it's hard to do if you have a disability, which they
Yes.
all do have disabilities, so it's a challenge, and we try to help them with that, but sometimes, you know, they don't get their money, they get sanctioned, but we don't kick them out. And then the same thing with, sometimes they stumble with their jobs, and then we don't kick them out either, you know, we try to hang in there with them, but because we don't have any funding, our whole place operates off of the shelter fees, and the shelter fees, depending on which room and which house, it's all in the $300 range. So as long as they all pay their shelter fees, we can pay the rent and the utilities, and we have insurance, and we have pest control, and we have vehicles, and but when somebody stumbles like that and they get sanctioned or they lose their job, you know, then now we're using our donations. So
see.
we have a fund for donations, and we use those. We use those for also if we have to replace somebody's expensive thing like an immigration document, because
Oh,
the
wow.
immigration documents are all really expensive now. They're
Oh,
all
yeah.
$400, $500, $600.
Wow.
Yeah, nobody has that. So we try to develop a fund through donations, through private donations. Yeah, like some people make a contribution. That all goes into a separate account.
Okay.
We don't use that for operating expenses, but we use that for when somebody loses their job and now they need help.
One time I told my son, well, I think I'm following God, but if I go bankrupt, I'll find out that I was deceived. But so far, so good.
In 2003, she opened her house to the homeless, complete strangers living on the streets of Oahu.
Well, I first started taking in women because I was a single woman, and I started taking in women with children, and then I started taking in elderly men that I found sleeping, you know, with cardboard over them in the rain.
3 years later, Carolina started her charity, the Shelter of Wisdom. Soon, one house became 2, then 4. She's now up to 6 homes that provide shelter for 63 men who now have a place to call home. Her dedication's so great, she sleeps on a sofa in her office to make room for somebody else.
Yeah, housing first, because you pretty much have to do whatever that person needs, and you have to meet them where they're at. So if they want help and you can build a relationship with them and they're going to trust you, then you just got to do whatever they need, right? And eventually they're going to be fine.
She's more like, not like a mother, but like a big sister. She take care of like all of us, and she's like really energetic and full of like care.
Carolina also wears many hats.
This is the one I got to work on.
From shelter director to chauffeur and even nurse, making sure residents take their meds to keep them on the right path.
So this room is all the small household furnishings.
But don't take her extreme kindness as a sign of weakness. Everyone is expected to contribute. Shelter fees run from $280 to $375 per month, and you have to clean up.
Somebody has to kind of kick them in the, kick them all the time. Hey, clean your room,
That's you at times.
That's always me, yeah. When they get empty apartments, there's no furniture at all, so we try to collect everything that they need.
Carolina's greatest joy is in goodbyes, when residents move into a place of their own. She wishes more people would follow her lead.
And bring in the people that you know already, just start making relationship with people that are homeless and bring them in, bring them home. Are you feeling better?
Carolina insists she's no MVP, but many of those she's helped disagree.
She's the only one. There's no more Carolinas.
I hope I did okay.
Andrew Pereira, KITV4 News.
Well, we have all kinds of things that goes on, like sometimes people die and we have to pay for their cremation because they don't have any family.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's
a lot that goes on with that.
There is.
Yes.
We have one man in hospice right now, yeah.
Okay.
So
now, are you able to minister to them when they're there?
Oh, yeah.
Are you kind of like the mom of the place?
Yeah, and then we have men too. We have men volunteers, and they're very anointed by God. They teach Bible study every morning.
Oh, wonderful.
And every evening there's a ministry activity. Either we go out to one of the churches in our neighborhood or we have a Bible study in our facilities.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have, it's like if you want to do something, you can do something every single day, twice a day.
Okay.
And then we have people that come in and pray for our men. There's somebody there right now as we're speaking that just came in to pray. They just go around, they just make friends with people, and then, as they converse, then, they ask if they would like to receive prayer, and then, yeah, by prayer, everything is wonderful there.
Yes.
Yeah, Jesus is the head of the household, and
Yes.
we've had fires, but nothing burned down.
Praise
We've
the
had
Lord.
fights, but nobody got killed or hospitalized. And
Wonderful.
yeah, Jesus is very much there, because he loves these men. So
Yes.
if they make it to our place, he has his hand upon their life.
Amen.
And a lot of them are not born again either, but they do get born again and they get baptized and they grow as much as they can.
And you've seen that. You've seen someone come in totally broken and leave a whole new person, and
yes,
you've seen people move on and be able to get better housing even?
we have over 300 people in permanent housing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a staggering statistic. It's kind of flip-flop from what the regular statistics are. They struggle in their independent housing too. They need a lot of support because they tend to isolate. And then sometimes if they don't stay plugged in to the things that they were plugged into when they were with us, to the ministries and the friendships and the accountability partners and things like that, they can go backwards.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do.
They need that support.
But then, we're still there, so then we scoop them back up again, and we've done that a lot.
So he wanted me to meet this lady, and this lady has a ministry called Shelter of Wisdom. I had no idea in the world what is this ministry about or whatever. All I know is that I don't want to sleep on the streets no more. It's a battle out there being on the streets. It's a battle of survival. Being on the streets, there's so much people just would do anything to you. Even if they have to kill you, they would do it and take your wallet and everything. But I knew to stay away from all of these bad influences. So he said, I'm going to introduce you to this lady. Her name is Caroline, and she has a ministry called Shelter of Wisdom. So he gave me her number. He already hooked up with her, and then she called me, and then I answered the phone and said, Hi, I'm Caroline. We have a spot for you, and we'd like to meet you at the place, and then we can show you the spot. So I went to Walgreens over in Kalihi Valley, and with my dirty clothes and my homeless look and everything, and this lady looked at me like looked at, never judged us. She never looked at us like a homeless, a lost person. She looked at us like, don't worry, God is in this. She knows she has faith in all of us who are in this ministry, that if you trust in the Lord, that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. All things are subject to change. And that was amazing. When I first moved in, I started realizing that this lady would bring us into ministries connected with New Hope, and it was called Life Change. She got us all together and paid for this life change that would help us understand the living Word of God and be strong in the Word and focus on His Word, that if you put all your heart and trust in the Lord, He will change you, and you focus on this. And if you make changes to adjust yourself so that the Lord can help you, the Lord will meet you. He'll meet you there. On behalf of that Shelter of Wisdom ministry, it helped me to understand more of the Word of God, where we have Bible studies with some of the awesomest ministers that come in and just minister the love of God, so that we can reach into the crevices of our heart and not just hear, but be doers of the Word. And I've been really encouraged to this ministry. It's been a blessing to me. Today I'm back to work, and I got, I used to have a bus pass. Now I got a moped and 2 cars, and I'm just thankful for what the Lord is doing for me to make my life so much easier. But what's so awesome about it is knowing that no matter what we do in this life of ours, He's always there for you if you put your trust in Him.
Now, do you have any needs that if people in the community want to help you?
Well, we need prayer.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, if people want to partner with us, to help with those things that our shelter fees don't cover. And then volunteers, if people, I think one of the things that's really nice is if people just want to come over and just sit around and just talk to whoever's there. Yeah, because some of them have disabilities and they're just kind of bored and they're just sitting around, or they want to talk to somebody but they can't really talk to each other because they all have overwhelming issues. So they don't want to share their issues with that person necessarily. But it's nice to have, we always have had some, it's okay for women to come, but it's primarily a men's ministry.
Okay.
And it's a little bit hard because the men are working, and after work they go home and they need to be with their families. So we've had a shortage of younger men.
Okay.
Mostly we've had retired men that come over and donate their time.
Okay.
Just to listen and
just to be there to talk. Now, how has this changed your life? Because I'm sure you've probably, from when you started to now, how has God used this to change you? In what ways?
Yeah, I'm like so changed. I don't even recognize my old self. It's like, wow, whoever knew that I would be doing this? I had no idea. But it's, I guess what happens is when you're in this kind of ministry, you just, you die to yourself constantly, 24 hours a day, because the phone rings like oftentimes at night, and I've been in the hospital so many times all night long. And just, it's a kind of a crisis kind of a ministry. There's a lot of crises.
Reginald Apo.
Yes.
But he's a very excellent motorcycle rider and a good mechanic. And he was riding a motorcycle and he got hit by a car. and his brains actually came out on the road, and he was dead. And he was brought over to Straub Hospital. I guess, his heart was still beating, but he was brain dead. And he was in Straub Hospital in Honolulu for about 377 days on life support. And about, right at that time, he came back conscious again. But he was 9 years in the state hospital here in Hawaii, recovering, learning how to walk and talk and everything again. So he's very much endured many things. He's been through a lot. And Reginald, what was that like when you were in heaven? You saw the gates. What was the gates like?
Well, first of all, what had happened is that when my spirit had left my body in the hospital, and I saw my body was a wreck. And
with all the tubes coming out of your head.
Yeah, the tubes, and
And you broke your back.
Yeah, I hurt my back, my arm, and this side of the head was cracked open. And as I seen all that going up, each time I was rising, going up. And then when I started hitting the middle part of the first heaven, then I had to walk the steps. The steps you walk up to
before the gates.
Before the gates, and when I entered, this voice told me to start headed to the light.
He didn't have any background on Christianity. He didn't have any knowledge of the Bible. So he didn't, after this happened, he didn't even tell anybody about it, because already he had a head injury and people thought he was crazy because he was in the state mental hospital.
Yeah.
So he didn't tell anybody for about, I think, 3 or 4 years after he came out. And then when he came to Shelter of Wisdom, then he told me. And then I showed him in the Bible where all of that was true.
I think that the thing that I love the most about it is just watching how Jesus does everything, and how I can rest in his presence.
Amen.
And I don't have to get stressed out.
Yes.
It's a crisis, but I don't have to become part of the crisis. I don't have to internalize the crisis, because
Amen.
that peace, that Jesus gives is so prevalent. And that's I think the thing that's changed me the most is I can just rest in him
Jesus.
and know that he's doing
He's in
everything.
control. Yep.
Yeah, and it looks like everything's falling apart. It looks like, the roof is blowing off, but,
It's not.
it's perfectly okay. Everything's under control.
Thank you so much, Carolina, how you're bringing joy to our town, and your houses have the word joy. That's just wonderful.